Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 2 Icarus Loop here in Lake Oswego. We are located, I'm going to show it at the end here just because it's kind of an awkward setup. But we've got a 4-inch ABS cleanout that sits just to the right of the front doorway or the staircase that leads up to the front door. And I describe everything as if you're standing in the street facing the front of the home. And we're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is a-running. And we're going to zero out here at the base of the cleanout. Off we go. Now, real quick here, I just wanted to point out I'm a big stickler. I've done over 25,000 sewer scopes at this point in my career, and grease buildup is something that I have grown to not be a big fan of. It's a big contributor to blockages. Anyway, this is exactly how you want your line to look right here. This is a household that's doing a really good job of not putting cooking oil, any fats in general down the kitchen sink drain. That little bit of yellow tan stuff that's kind of underneath the water line there is a very minor example of some grease buildup relative to most homes. Extremely clean. Makes your line much more forgiving under those scenarios where the line gets abused or the grandkids flush balled up toilet paper down the line, things like that. Transitioning here to 6-inch concrete, we do have a, looks like root penetration here at the transition joint. As it sits right now, not affecting flow in a significant manner, but roots grow and change. Now, anytime I see roots, whether they are small or big, they are things I recommend repairs on. Because the line still has good slope and grade, there's no grade loss, everything is flowing beautifully. This is one where I would highly recommend looking into the prospect of an epoxy liner. It is one that this is a candidate for it. You got 4- and 6-inch pipe that all has very good slope and grade to it. At the point this line is in its age, not that the rest of the concrete needs it, but if you were to go the route of a liner, I would highly recommend looking into the price difference between lining that and spot repairing the joint versus simply lining the remainder of the concrete pipe all at once. Just because of the setup fees involved with that, it becomes cheaper and more cost effective the more feet that you go. The other thing to keep in mind, this is an ancient concrete, but concrete pipe is much more susceptible to roots than other pipe materials. The pipe grout in the joints is also something that is a wear item. It slowly but surely wears out. So it's one of those deals where if you don't do the whole thing at once, I would keep an eye on the line periodically, so you don't miss an opportunity to do trenchless repairs down the road on it. But that's my 2 cents on it. If you're going to line it, I would recommend taking it all the way to the main versus just the joint. But the joint is the issue at this point in time. We're going to go locate really quick here while the line drains. Alrighty, located the camera head successfully. So I put some paint down in the street. What the line here is doing is as you face the front door from the road, the line again, it pops out just to the right of the front door, and then jaunts under the driveway from left to right. It crosses the full span of the driveway and then gets out from underneath it. In the dirt kind of planter area between this driveway and the house to the right, the line makes a turn and it shoots out to the street through that area there. So you'll see a green T marking out in the roadway, and the marking does line up with a small sewer access just a few feet down the road. So I know my locate is relatively accurate, but this is one where I do recommend relocating. I'm not putting depths down for a reason. My signal out in the road there is jumping all over the place for some reason. I'm getting 5 foot 1 inches deep there, and I only say that for the sake of anyone else locating to double check to see if they're getting the same depth. The amount at that depth, I rarely have problems with a locate signal, so there's probably some kind of interference with utilities or something of that nature. So anyway, here's the route here at about 40 feet. I would highly recommend checking with the city out here to see if they're responsible for this section of pipe. I'm going to go locate right now. Often these transitions take place at the right-of-way, and if a city does take responsibility for a line, it is generally speaking at the right-of-way and or at the curb. For some reason, off the top of my head, I think LACO might be responsible for the line out here, but you got to check on that. Those things can change from time to time, too. Anyway, the spot that I would recommend repairs that is in more of a necessity, it will, obviously, is the transition joint. From this point forward, the joints are intact. They're held up. But anyway, like I was saying before, when it comes to doing liners, if you were digging, I wouldn't feel the same way. But if you do a liner, it really behooves you to go the distance. It's much more cost effective. The other added benefit you get, if this is a home you're going to be in for a long time, it's worth it from a longevity standpoint. Again, like I was saying before, the concrete pipe here is not ancient, but one of the things that happens with concrete pipe over time is the grout in the joints starts wearing out. And once that wears out to a point, the joints become exposed to the ground. They can start allowing dirt to flow through the pipe and cause hydro erosion, which can erode the support out from underneath the sewer line and cause progressive settling, causing bellies, offset joints, things of that nature. Also causes the joints to be more exposed to the potential for roots. So when you get a liner in there right now, it seals the line up and helps to ensure that never takes place, and it also allows you to do the line without ever having to crack the road open and spend a considerable amount of money beyond what a liner would ever cost you. All right, and still again here, I'm getting a little bit of a jumpy signal, but locates are lining up reasonably well. You'll see a green T. If you look to the right of the driveway, where the ivy is at there, you'll see a T marking. And then you'll see one out in the road there. So anyway, this is what I recommend relocating. Those are purely for reference only. There's a reason I haven't put depths down here. That should digging even be necessary. Depends on the configuration of the line and whether or not a liner company can get their equipment through the turns the line has in it. Some of them do sometimes have to install a clean out. Like often when you have a really wonky configuration, sometimes what they have to do is go out and install a clean out access right before the concrete pipe so they have a nice straight shot into the line. Helps to prevent things from going awry during the install process. Anyway, I'll have to have a company assess that. It looks like glue drips on the sidewall there, so I was pushing back out to check that. There's nothing that comes off the joint. It looks like excess pipe glue that was on the sidewall there. And if for some reason repairs are not done right now, I would highly recommend rescoping the line periodically to monitor the roots. Right now they're small enough, they don't need cutting, but that can change. That's the hard part with roots, is we don't know when they penetrated the line. If it was last week or 20 years ago, and what they'll amount to. That little stuff there coming off that joint, those are just some little plastic burrs from a saw cut that wasn't sanded. The joint didn't get sanded down there. Anyway, right now, flow through the line is very good. So, no issues in that regard as it sits currently. But again, that can change. That's why I always recommend roots get repaired, because they can grow and turn into something else. All right, just turn the camera around. We've got some water running into the face of the camera right now. That's what that is there. And at this point, we're back to the foundation wall. Here, let me get this thing out of your way here.
Oh, Wi-Fi. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris?
Anyway, everything past that point right there is all exposed piping. All this pipe is draining off just fine here. There's a bathtub draining into the face of the camera right now. Anyway, at the minimum, I recommend a spot repair at the joint at 40 feet. If you do a point repair liner, What you want to ideally do here, they make these transition pieces for liners where they can go from 4 to 6 inch. Some cities even allow you to reduce the diameter of the line down to 4 inch and just shoot a 4-inch liner through all the 6-inch pipe. But ideally, you want to start that liner a couple feet, at least a foot prior to the transition joint, ideally a little more. And then obviously go a couple feet or so past it so you get a good overlap over that joint to help seal future root intrusions out. But again, the ideal scenario here would just be to take the liner from the transition joint or just prior to it all the way to the main to get the line bolstered up. It'll help prevent roots from penetrating any other parts of the concrete pipe. There's a lot of concrete pipe underneath foliage out here, so it's entirely possible you could get another root in the future. So that's why I think it's a good idea in this case to just go ahead and deal with that whole section at one time. Regardless of how much you do, make sure you get a rescope after the repair is done. If you do a dig style repair for some reason, if that ends up being more cost effective, make sure you do the rescope after the trench is closed so you can catch any settling problems. Anyway, all the ABS pipe we just scoped there, all of it's in good condition, has good flow and is functioning properly at this time. Overall, because the roots are not affecting flow right now, the line has good flow and functionality all the way out to the main lateral as it sits. And again, if no repairs are done for some reason, keep an eye on it. I generally recommend you rescope at the 1 year mark to get an idea as to how aggressively those roots are growing and to do root cutting as needed up until the time you're ready to do repairs on the line.